It's inevitable that in Oklahoma in the summertime, we're going to have some very, very hot weather. What that hot weather does to the fertility of cattle that are going through a summer breeding season is really an important consideration for cow-calf producers to keep in mind. There was some interesting research done here at Oklahoma State University, now about 25 years ago, that looked at the effect of heat stress on cattle in very early pregnancy. You see what they did? They took a set of cows in a very, very thermal neutral, comfortable environment at about 71 degrees, synchronized them, bred them naturally to bulls, and then put these cows into 3 different heat amounts of treatment. The first group of cows were left in the very comfortable environment of around 71 degrees, clear up through day 16. The other 2 groups were put in a heat stress situation. The first one they called mild, I guess that's a matter of opinion, where the cows were at 98 degrees during the daylight hours, 91 degrees overnight, but at a low humidity of 27%. The last group of cows that they called the severe heat stress were at about the same temperatures, 98 in the day, 91 at night, but with additional humidity, up around 40%. Then they looked at day 16 to see how many of the cows were still bred. In the case of those that were left in that comfortable environment, 83% of them that were just bred once by the bull were still pregnant. The mild heat stress cattle had a considerable drop-off in terms of the percentage of them still pregnant, only about 2/3, and by the time we got to the severe heat stress situation, only half of those cattle were still pregnant. I think it's equally important to look at the measurements that they made on the weight of what they call the conceptus. That's the weight of the embryo and the fluids around the embryo at day 16. And what you'll notice if you look at the table closely is that those under the severe heat stress weighed only about half as much as those under those cows that were left in that thermal neutral or comfortable environment. That tells me that even though 50% of them still had an embryo, that it was a weakened embryo and we had a chance to lose even more. Bottom line on this situation, it seems to me, folks, is that trying to breed cattle in the heat of Oklahoma during July and August is an uphill battle. It's one of those things that is very, very difficult to get a high conception rate just due to the impacts that heat is going to have on early pregnancy. It's one of the reasons why so many people in Oklahoma have turned to fall calving, where they can breed in late fall, early winter in a more comfortable thermal neutral environment. And I think it's one of those things that if you're starting a cow herd or considering changing, that you take a real close look at. Next week on the Cow-Calf Corner, we're going to visit with you about the bull side of heat stress, because that's also an important factor as we think about trying to breed cattle in Oklahoma in July and August. So make sure that you're here next week as we visit about heat stress again in cattle on the Cow-Calf Corner.